I spent most of my life here. This is where I started to have bad companies, to have problems with my family. I used to walk through here every day. I had a lot of friends and I lost them all because of drugs. Most of the time in my life I spent it here in this park with bad companies. I used to hang out in this corner every day. All gang looking with my friends, smoking weed, drinking. I would walk through these streets until I got to downtown Tijuana, finding people to rob, finding people to jack their purses, their jewelries. Sometimes I would be very disappointed at life. I would find very sad. I would find myself very sad. And sometimes I would just walk alone. And I wouldn't care if people would look at me when I was crying. I didn't care about anything. I just wanted more drugs, more drugs. And sometimes I had the desire to change, but I would just say it. I would never do it. When I was an addict, these were the streets where I robbed the people. I would rob jewelry, wallets. I did harm to a lot of people here. The worst that I did. I didn't want to know anything about myself. I just thought about the drug. I just wanted to rob so I could keep drugging myself up. I would hang out here a lot with the cab driver, cleaning the buses, robbing the people. Most of my life I spent it here, asking for money. Always doing harm. Because I would find customers for the things that I would rob. I used to live on top of that roof, and I didn't care that it was raining. I would find a cover spot, another experience here. Because I would have to watch myself from the people that sleeps under the bridge. Because you never know where you're gonna run into it. You never know where you're gonna find. But there was always a hand of God protecting me. It was very disgusting to live a life like this. But I looked for it and I suffered the consequences, but with the help of God and with God's will, I was able to get out of it because I had faith, a helping hand of God. I never knew that was going to happen to me that one day. All I wanted was a dose so I could feel alright. But a little later, I realized that my heart was waiting. My heart was waiting for a change. I didn't know what was going to happen at that one moment. I was walking down the hill from my house very early. And when I heard that the car of my friend, the hand of God, my friend, he was there, and there was a new opportunity in my life. When I saw him, I felt a great emotion. I felt like crying, but at the same time, I felt the help of God. I knew that God was giving me another opportunity. That was a great day in my life. I found again that one friend that never lets you down, that's always with you, who's always watching for you, who's always watching for his kids. He will never let you down.
I had met a young man by the name of Jose in 1996. I believe he was about 15 or 16 years old. Jose was taken back to Mexico in 1996, and I lost touch with him. In about the year 2000, while doing some research in Tijuana at the government office there, I came across Jose, who was washing car windows. I can't describe for you the turmoil, the hurt in my heart in seeing this young man, who was such an incredible individual, and now was homeless. His clothing, to be honest with you, I was ashamed of myself for not advocating for him and allowing him to be thrown back into the poverty.
For a documentary that we were working on, and Kevin was just going through a story, and he was telling us a story about a friend he had about 10 years ago, about this kid who was a real good guy. He had goals in life. He was a real decent human being. But just circumstances back then caused that kid, Jose Antonio, to leave the United States and be thrown back into an impoverished country, such as Mexico. So while he's telling us that story, he's driving that intersection, Cinco Diez, which is, I mean, when you look at it from a building, people look like ants. You know, so many people that they look like ants. You can't tell who's who. So as we're driving, you know, the windows are up and we're talking, and Kevin's focused on the road because it's heavy traffic. He sees somebody at the corner of his eye, and as he turns around, he just barely recognizes him, and he rolls down his window and he screams out his name, Jose. Jose turns around, and automatically, before even Jose could fully turn around and look at the vehicle, he automatically knew it was Kevin.
I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I rolled down the window. I yelled at him, Jose! He yelled back, Kevin! He looked very different. This was 10 years ago, when I remembered his face, and now he's 26 years old. He, again, was pretty dirty, but he ran after us. He began running after us, and I was speeding up trying to get to a turnaround where I could go back to get him. Augustine jumped out of the vehicle and went to be with him to tell him to hang on, that I'm coming back around. I turned back around, jumped out of the car, and gave him a hug like I've never given anyone. We shed some tears.
Just how he looked that day told you that he had been through a lot of things. And I didn't even know the guy. I hadn't even spoken a word to him. And just by looking at him, I could tell that he had been through some serious circumstances in life. He started telling us about his drug use, and just telling us all these crazy stories that, for me, a lot of it was the first time I've ever heard of anything like that. I remember this one time at McDonald's. It was, I believe, a Friday night. Kevin and I went to the McDonald's with Jose to meet with him and just lay it out, because he had shown no progress. And as a matter of fact, he had probably worsened the situation. He kept denying the drug use. He was definitely on drugs, and was on drugs that night. I gave him a sweater, and as I gave him the sweater, he turned around, and I gave it to him again, and then he finally took it, but he looked at it, and he just threw it on the ground. And that's when I realized that this guy was in for a long haul. The change wasn't going to be easy. A change was going to be difficult, and he was not going to be able to do it alone. Tal vez en este momento
In this moment,
no quisiera recordar
I wouldn't like to remember
muchas
a lot
cosas
of things
que he pasado.
that I have lived through,
Muchas cosas que quedaron atrás.
a lot of things that are in the past now. There's always going to be a friend, and that great friend is God that brings you all the opportunities to live better.
Tuve que pasar muchas experiencias en mi
I
vida.
had to experience a lot of things in my life,
La más fea
and the most
experiencia en mi
ugly
vida
experience
fue
was
de meterme con
having sex
con
with
gente que yo no conocía.
people that I didn't know,
Se puede decir sexualmente,
sexually, morally,
en pandillas.
in gangs.
Tal vez mis defectos
Perhaps my
de carácter me llevaron a eso.
character downfalls took me to that, but
Les puedo
I
decir
can
que
tell you
fue
that
una
it was
experiencia
an
muy-
experience
no me
that I'm
avergüenzo,
very
pero
ashamed
es la
of,
realidad de las cosas.
and
Y yo les cuento
it's
esto
reality
porque
of it's a reality of
yo
things.
tengo
I have
confianza
trust. I tell you this because I have trust in God, in Jesus Christ.
yo sé que
I know
en
that
Él se encuentra la salvación.
salvation is within Him.
Los amigos y las pandillas encuentras
With
todo.
friends and the gangs, you find everything.
Encuentras todo más
You find
fácil.
everything easier.
Robando,
Robbing.
asaltando, prostituyéndose.
With prostitution.
Así, yo me prostituí
Yeah,
Por
I was a
dinero.
prostitute for money,
por conseguirlo todo más fácil.
to get
A veces obtenía
drugs
la droga
easily.
más fácil así.
I used to get drugs more easily,
metiéndome con
having sex
personas
with people
de la calle, se puede
from the
decir,
streets,
¿verdad? Con vecinos,
with neighbors,
en las
with the
pandillas,
gangs.
de muchas formas. Lo más impactante
The thing that most impacted me
en ese momento,
at that moment,
lo que sentí yo
what I felt,
en mi
in my
corazón,
heart,
yo sentía
I
algo que me
felt
estaba
something
diciendo de adentro
was telling
de
me
mí
inside me
que
that
yo estaba
I was
haciendo
doing
algo
something
muy
very,
malo, muy
very
malo.
wrong.
Y
And then
entonces no lo
I
quise
didn't want to
aceptar
accept it. I didn't want to hear it
hasta que fui a unas pláticas y me
until I
empecé
went into
a-
counseling
empecé a
and I
ver
started
la
to see
realidad de las
the
cosas,
reality of things
porque
because
no me di las
I
consecuencias.
didn't measure the
Entonces,
consequences.
no me medí a mí mismo, entonces yo lo hacía por
I just did it for the drugs, for the money.
Tomás
What impacted me the
es
most
haber hecho un inventario de moral de mí mismo.
it was to create
y me
a
empecé a analizar
moral inventory of myself.
que todo lo que estaba haciendo, la droga me tenía
The drug
anestesiado,
Had me numbed.
me tenía cegado.
had me blind.
Entonces, cuando fui a esas
And then when I
pláticas
went into counseling
de X
about
enfermedades,
some diseases,
entonces, me asusté
I
mucho,
got
me
really,
asusté
really
mucho,
scared.
pero
I realized I
sin
knew what I
embargo,
was doing,
no lo quería
but I
aceptar,
didn't
no lo
want to
quería
accept
aceptar
it
hasta que me
until
di cuenta de que sí lo tenía.
I realized I had it. I have
Yo
cried.
debajo de una
I have
cobija,
cried under a blanket.
y la
And the
gente,
biggest issue I have is with the drugs, not with the people.
más que nada, a veces sí lo tuve.
More than
tuve
anything, I
conmigo
have
mismo. Y
the problem with myself.
quise aventarme
I
desde
wanted
un
to
puente
jump out of a
una vez,
bridge. I would
reflexionaba
reflect
después
myself
todo eso,
on all the
todo
things,
lo que hice,
on all the
todas
things
mis
that I
tonterías que andaba
did,
haciendo.
all the things that I was doing.
So, entonces,
And then
el más grande coraje que tengo es con las drogas.
the biggest
no con
issue I
uno.
have is with the drugs, not
Porque
with.
uno se que se agarra de
with
diablo
anyone.
y no lo quiere soltar. Duré mucho
I
tiempo
regret all
sin-
the
sin
harm
ver
that I did to other people
a mucha gente que me conocía.
and to those that did harm. There's always an opportunity in life
Pasé un fondo de sufrimiento
for every human being,
muy feo
and those opportunities are given by God.
durante mucho tiempo y fue
I
una
know
experiencia
that
muy-
without Him we're nothing.
yo tenía,
It was a very strong emotion,
yo tenía una meta
I had set a goal in my
cumplí
life.
y
and then
Pues sí, sentí bien, sentí
I
muy
felt
feo.
really, really bad.
Me sentí
I
como
felt
rechazado
rejected.
En un mesabanco,
Yeah, now I
escuchando a la
would be in a
profesora,
classroom listening to the
o la
professor
profesora, como estudiante,
as a student,
buscando
looking for a
carrera,
career,
de alguien algún
because
día.
everyone needs the help of someone at least once.
Y uno,
And,
muchas veces el orgullo de uno
and sometimes your pride won't let you get closer to those persons. Repent what you're doing and let it go. Let pride go. And say, yes, I can do it. Always. As long as you have strong will and have the strength to look for that light. I know that I have done harm to a lot of people, but all that came back to me. All that harm came back to me. That's why I was desperate and stressed, alone, on the street, or in a corner of a room. When I was in those places, I got the strength, and I say, yes, I can get out. I'm not missing an arm, I'm not missing a foot. I'm not retarded, I'm not crazy. You always have to set a goal and say, yes, I can do it. There's always going to be that ray of light who's going to light up your life. And get up, yes. It's all I can tell you.
Another factor that helped him change, definitely see the error of his ways, was the drug test. We took a urine sample from him, and all the while he was still denying the drug use. He was completely denying the drug use. And it came dirty. It came out dirty. And he finally looked down, still somewhat denying it, but he knew that he was caught. So he kind of started to face facts at that point. And I gotta tell you, since that point, he showed a lot of change. I mean, this guy has grown a lot. He's grown so much that he has a smile every time I see him. You know, he's not worried or anxious. He's not, looking to score money or drugs anymore. In which he just wants to prove to us and show us that he's improved and that he's matured and that he's grown a whole lot. To which I'm very proud of him, because not any person. It takes a certain type of person to want to change, to have that courage, to have that strength, to get back on your feet after getting knocked down so many times, to get back up on your feet. I wasn't necessarily shocked or surprised when the test results for hepatitis C and HIV came back positive. After all he's been through, I would have been more shocked if he hadn't contracted one of those. It is a shame, though, that he had to contract both of them. But that's how it went, unfortunately. I am surprised, however, just how optimistic he received that news. He kind of expected it, but then he kind of took that as more of a reason to change his ways, which is more of a reason that I admire him for that as well. Because to be honest, I have no idea how I would take that news if somebody would have told me that. Yeah, this guy has been through so many things that there's no reason in the world that I would leave his side. He's changed so much. He's gotten back up after being knocked down so many times that I can tell you, as everybody watching this video as my witness, I will not leave this guy's side. He's grown so much and he's shown a lot of maturity and improvement, but I want him to know that I'm not going to leave his side.
Do you know that we love you? You sure? Yes. Don't worry for the things that you have experienced in your life, because we all have experienced things and done things, and we regret things, but it's incredible that even though we have all those experiences, we have the love to each other,
por ser fuerte.
that you have to be strong.
Te admiro mucho.
I admire you for everything that you have lived
Porque
through,
otra persona se
because
hubiera dado por vencer.
any other person would have given up.
Otra persona se hubiera brincado en ese puente.
Any
ese
other
día,
person would have
pero tú no.
jumped out of that bridge that one
Ese
day,
día tú fuiste fuerte.
and you were very strong on that one day.
De que de todas las personas que he conocido, las miles de personas
Of all
que he
the persons
conocido,
that I have met,
que nunca he
I have
conocido
never
una
met
persona
someone
tan
as
fuerte,
strong
que ha pasado todo lo que ha pasado
as
en la
you,
vida,
and that
que
has
aún al
experienced
último del día,
all that you
no se
have
baje
experienced,
que pueda sonreír.
and that on this day you're smiling and you're not mad at God.
Muy raro, muy-
I spent so many days walking on the streets alone, sleeping under the bridges, picking up things from the trash cans, robbing. I didn't know what to do. The way that those hunger would go away. But let me tell you that God is always watching His kids. And I give thanks to God. I thank God because I found a new way of life.
Y estoy bien agradecido.